Hello, guys, and welcome to another podcast series with a very, very special guest today. With us is Patricia Monna, who is a very well-known psychic medium. She has also worked in law enforcement as a remote viewer who has helped in the finding of missing persons and unexplained disappearances. She also teaches psychic development, and she has been interviewed by none other than the mighty George Noory on Gaia TV. So please, everybody, welcome Patricia. Thank you so much for being here today with us. We're super excited to have you.
Thank you so much for the invite. It's lovely to meet you.
So we'll go ahead and, ask you maybe just to tell us a little bit about yourself, where you live, where you're from, what your hobbies are. We want to get, on a one-on-one with you before diving into the very, very celestial topics.
So my name is Patricia Monna, and I'm from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Yes, I am a professional psychic medium and remote viewer. I have found 30 missing people working with law enforcement and family from all over the world. RCMP up here in Canada, and yeah, I've done cases and in all different timelines as well. Just recently, I've been invited on a couple of digs with some archaeologists to be able to look back in time and hopefully preserve the area and have it so that no one ever builds on it. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, you can look into any timeline, whether it's future, past, present, future. It's all recorded in the matrix. It's just a matter of knowing how to be able to tune into a specific timeline. But yeah, so I was actually a palliative oncology nurse before I did this. I was a nurse for about 13 years. And it was in that time actually that I realized that I had a gift, because when it's your reality, you don't realize that your reality is any different from anyone else. So growing up, I, would look at people and go, well, what do you mean you didn't know that? What do you mean you didn't see that coming? Because for me, it was just common sense, but I didn't realize that people didn't see the same reality that I did. And so it was when I was nursing that I realized that I could actually scan a person's body from head to toe and know, where their cancer was, what they were experiencing, if they had secondary illnesses that I was supposed to pick up on and treat. Like it just became a second nature for me to be able to read the energy off of my patients. And so that's when I realized that maybe not all the nurses can do that, just because scanning a person's energy field is something that I've always done. And when you scan their field, you can actually begin to feel the story of their life. And depending on where you're at with your own spiritual development, you can, go down that rabbit hole, and really there's nothing that you can't know if you know how to remote view and open up your psychic senses. So yeah, it started in, I guess, the day I was born. People ask me, when do you realize that you were psychic? Again, I didn't really until the nursing, and that's when it really became profound for me. But how I got into, even the work with the missing persons and being able to find a missing person, like I had no idea that I was even capable of that. And I guess as human beings, we really don't know what we're capable of until we try. And I got involved with missing person cases before I ever even did a reading. And it was just right place, right time, totally. I had been at a psychic development class, and the lady that was leading it, her cousin was an RCMP officer, and someone had gone missing. A lady had gone missing in a town about 300 kilometers from where I live. And so the cousin had sent her a picture of the missing person and said, hey, this person's missing, can you tune in? And she couldn't see anything. So she handed me the picture. She says, hey, Patricia, you want to try? Well, immediately when I saw the picture, I saw where she was. I saw that she was alive and well, living with it was a white house with green trim on it. I could even see the flowers on the couch that she was laying on. And yeah, within 4 hours of me sending that information in, she was found. And to date, I hate to say it, but she was my only person that I've ever found alive. Yeah, everyone else, unfortunately, has been deceased. But it's usually because by the time the police, by the time the police would call me, I'm kind of a last resort. So I've done a lot of historical crimes and a lot of missing persons and murder investigations that are, the one that I just did was 31 years old. So it really doesn't matter how much time has passed between, someone dying, that imprint where they pass away, there's an imprint that is made there. And they're called geographical imprints when enough people die in one area, such as you look at like 9/11. You don't need to be psychic or sensitive to walk in there and feel that something has happened there, right? So that's a geographical imprint of energy. And that's a concentrated geographical imprint. But even one person passing away leaves an imprint in time, where they passed, how they passed, it's all there. So it's my job to be able to go into that and in essence, see what happened.
Wow. That's a very impressive, talent or gift, I would say, that has developed over the years for you. I mean, when I was a child, I asked, when I got asked what would your superpower be, I said invisibility. I don't know what you might have said to get that gift. It came true. So there's a really, really amazing quote that says, with great power comes great responsibility. And I want to get into your head a little bit and pick, your point, your perspective a little bit, so you can share with us kind of how you come to your ideals and what motivates you truly as a person to do this. With having great responsibility, Patricia, I want to ask you, what do you tell yourself when it comes to the great responsibility that falls on your shoulders? When you're all these people depending on you, to come to the right conclusion. And this question goes for all the leaders and the courageous souls that are actually going through this path. And I'm 100% positive that we can all definitely learn something from this sort of experience that you put yourself through willingly, every single time you're helping somebody out. So can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, as a psychic medium, I've seen it all, everything from murder to suicide, kidnappings. I've worked on a lot of investigations. And if you ask me, why I do it, because I do it free of charge. It's the one thing I make enough doing my readings and teaching my classes that I would never ask someone for money in their worst time of need. No one saves up for their child to go missing. You know what I mean? So I feel like it is my God-given duty and obligation to be able to do this and to offer this service, because I just think God gave me this crazy ability to be able to do this. It's put on my heart for a reason, right? And I have worked on quite a few investigations that were very scary, where I actually pointed the finger at a murderer and he found out, and called me up and actually I'll tell you what happened. I'll tell you what happened there. So they're in the town of, not Edson, where is it? Castor, Alberta. There was an investigation where this man burnt down his family in the family home, and his niece came to see me to find out what happened, because he wasn't a suspect at the time. And she says to me, she goes, my aunt is missing. My grandparents are dead. They died in the fire. We need to find my aunt. Can you help me find my aunt? Well, I told her right from the get-go, I said, your aunt died, unfortunately, in the fire. It's just a matter of time before that comes out. I said, but this was absolutely your uncle that did this. And she was shocked at first. And, how can you say that? And I said, just wait a second. let me explain what the details are, why he did this, what this was about.
Right,
So so I explained it to her. I was even able to tell her what he was wearing that day, and where drugs were in his house, everything, what it was all over. And I told her specific details that there's no way that anyone could have known. So she goes up to, she lives in Edmonton, which is about 3 hours from here. She drives back home and tells her mother this. So her mother contacts me and says, I'm coming to Calgary to see you. I can't believe you're saying my brother did this. So she comes to Calgary, and I sat down with her and I explained to her what I saw and what this was over. I gave her intimate details of the house, where the couches were situated, where the kitchen was, things that I just shouldn't have known, right? And so what did she do? She goes and stops at the brother's house on the way back up to Edmonton. Oh, it says, there's a psychic in Calgary, Alberta, that's saying that you did this. And she's like, I confess, what's the truth of it? And so, of course, he kept swearing up and down that he was innocent, completely denied any wrongdoing in the death of his family, and had the audacity to phone me up and threaten me because I pointed the finger at him. And I said, look, I know you did this. I know you did this. I also know that the police are coming for you, because I also see that. I said, so I know you will be convicted, because I also see that. And then I hung up the phone. And so the police, of course, I reported it to the officer in charge of the investigation. And he says to me, he goes, Patricia, why do you do this? Why do you do this? He says, because we can't afford to protect you. There's nothing that we can do, in order to hand you protection for this. And I said, you know what? I have to believe that if God gives me this information and puts it on my heart to report it, I have to believe he's got my back, right? And I will say, I walked around a little nervous for about 8 months, because that's how long it took for them to build the investigation and to go after him and arrest him and then prosecute him. But he's in jail for 3 consecutive life sentences. And yeah, it was based on some of the information that I provided for the police, as well as what they were able to gather. So it's profound. It's like you said, it's a lot of responsibility. And I would never feel right charging a cent to do that kind of work. Never. But like I said, I feel that I'm protected. I feel like I have a team of angels walking with me at all times, so I'm just going to keep doing it and doing what's right, and helping out wherever I can. That's the biggest thing, is just to help wherever I can, not just in this way, but however, I can be of service. I like to show up and say, I'm here, I'll help.
That's amazing. Can you guide us maybe a little bit through the feelings in a short, perhaps, very one worded description on the feeling that you get as soon as you're about to blurt out that, confirmative, definitive answer? Can you describe that feeling? Like what does that feel like?
Oh, it's like a well bursting out of me, that it's, and the thing is that truth has a very solid vibration. It has a, a strength to it. You can feel truth, and you can feel when it's not true, because it doesn't feel solid. It feels like, oh, I think, no. I don't ever, I think. It's, I know, or else it's not vibrating at truth. So it's just this, the craziest feeling though, is when you hear that you found someone, or that your lead led them to find a missing person. That's really cool. Because I do it from sitting in my house, so sitting in my office. I don't go anywhere to do it. I do something called remote viewing, which is the ability to be able to perceive a person, place, or thing that's not in front of you. It can be anywhere in the entire universe. Here, I'll show you one of my remote viewing things.
That's incredible. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's like this big feeling of release, you know, of something like being.
Oh, it is. It totally is. Yeah, it's an amazing sensation. So for example, this is what remote viewing leads to. It says in here, it was stated the little boy was found on Blanco River close to Water Park Road. The psychic appears accurate. Her pin's yellow, mine's are red. So this was actually in Wimberley, Texas. In 2015, there was a huge flood where there was a house that was on stilts right by the river, and it went down the river with everyone in it. Well, I told the search, track, and rescue right from the beginning, I'll only be able to find 6 out of 8 of the people. 2 of them are gone. I can't even feel them. Well, to this day, they've never been found. And so what I did, sitting in my home in Calgary, I have to take what I see up here and I have to plot it on Google Earth and tell them where to go search. So this is where I told them to search, and that's where the bodies were found.
Wow. So that is the strong feeling that you're mentioning. It's so sure right here. I guess I know where the saying the solid truth comes from now. I think I understand now what that means, you know, speaking the solid truth, you know.
Yes, it's a vibration. You can feel it. It's a statement. It's not I think isn't truth. You know what I mean?
Beautiful.
So I look for that. Sorry, say that again.
It's more the I feel, because the I think is more rational, but when it comes to the I feel, it's from the heart, and the heart, there's no lie. Like there's like the heart, it is what it is, and you cannot, like the heart is solid, and the mind is more like I think.
Yes.
Wow.
Bang on. It's a vibration.
Awesome.
Vibrations. Yeah. Excellent. All right. So let's jump to the next question. When it comes to past, present, and future, in my case, for instance, I downloaded information up to date. Sometimes it's very hard for me to know exactly the time, because actually time and space doesn't really exist. So when it comes from, matrix, it's a little confused, in my personal, experience. It's a little confused because sometimes I download information when it comes for ancestors or things that we are carrying that we just need to cut, as far as, things that doesn't belong to us, that we are just basically being loyal to our family or loyal to our ancestors. And we kind of, bring it to our present moment. At the end of the day, the present moment is the only thing that exists, and past and future is just something that we make up in order to make this reality kind of logical in a sense. There comes the mind again, us wanting to understand this reality. But at the end of the day, the reality that we see is not the reality that it is when it comes to the emotions and the heart, that something that I just mentioned. Yeah. So the question will be like, in your case, how do you distinguish the past from the present and the future when it comes not only for this lives that you basically discover, but when it comes to just the energy? Because at the end of the day, it's energy. It don't matter the time or space. It's just energy. So how do you distinguish?
So how do I perceive time? So you hit the nail on the head. There's no such thing as time on the other side. And when, for example, when I'm doing a reading, I explain to people there's no such thing as time. And the way the information comes through is kind of all over the place. But how I know what I'm looking at, well, I can feel it, I can see it, and you know it because you know your life, right? And then I'll go into doing the reading. But yeah, I explain to people there really is no such thing as time. So how it's perceived, well, there's many different ways to be able to get the information. Projecting your consciousness is one way. Like you can remote view by actually coming out of your body, astral traveling to the place that you want to view, having a look around, and then bringing the information back. But there's also a way to do it where you don't leave your body. You're closing your eyes, you're tuning into the target, and you're seeing what opens up when you're looking in, right? But time, when I want to know if something happened 10 years ago or 10 minutes ago, there's things that I will look for. So for example, I look for the time of year. So is it winter? Is it summer? What are the leaves on the trees if I'm outside looking around, right? Change the aerial perspective as well. So it's just like if I asked you to close your eyes and visualize your kitchen, standing in your kitchen, you'd be able to do that, right? Then if I said to you, now change your perception or your view of perception, go to the ceiling and view yourself standing in the kitchen, but you're on the ceiling. Look down, you'll be able to do that. Same thing with, you can change and look to the left or to the right. You can actually change your view of perception on what you're looking at. And when you do that, you get a different angle and different bits of information will come through. So if I can't necessarily tell what time I'm looking at, I will change the way I'm looking at it, change the aerial perception, go from above, go from the side. You can also project your consciousness into a tree or a living animal or a bird and look through their eyes, look down on what's happening below you, right? But certain things like, I'll look for, if I'm working on a missing person case, I'll look for, is there crunching leaves on the ground? Am I hearing, twigs? Am I listening to the sounds of the forest? Am I hearing the birds and the wolves? What am I hearing around me? It's literally all the 5 senses that you need in order to tune into the 6th. To get to the 6th sense, it's a combination of all 5, right? And the more you tune up those 5 senses and the more you become accustomed to relying on them and how you feel, that is the biggest thing, because your feelings will never, ever, ever steer you wrong. Never. The subconscious mind works in the realm and language of feelings, right? And so yeah, there's different ways to be able to perceive timelines. Like if I'm looking at a person, how old are they? Am I looking at someone who's 8 years old when they're 30? Because then I definitely know I'm looking back in time, right? So my logical mind comes into play just that little bit. Now, with that being said, so the left brain logic, when you're doing remote viewing or psychic development, psychic stuff, you're completely using your right brain. You're going out through the right brain, right? But when you are remote viewing, we'll say, I want to go look at a clock. I can't. You cannot have an outer body experience or a remote view and see the time on a clock because you're trying to use your left brain in a right brain state and you can't, right? So one of the things that I learned from a young age, that I have something called synesthesia, where I see my letters and numbers and colors. And so where that comes in for psychic development is, we'll say I'm trying to remote view someone's getaway truck and I'm looking for the license plate. I wouldn't see the letters and numbers. No one would, because that's left brain logic. When you're trying to go out through the right brain, it'll totally, you won't go anywhere with any of it. You'll be wrong. But one of the things that I noticed was that, like I said, I see my letters and numbers and colors. So if I'm going in a remote viewing someone's license plate, I will be able to get the license plate because every number and every letter has a specific color inside of my head. So I'll see it like a barcode of colors, and then I'll know which number and which letter correspond to the license plate. if that makes sense.
It's like an energetical language, right?
Yes.
Because the colors is energy at the end of the day.
That makes total sense. Yes.
It's all connected.
My brain is, wow. No,
colors have a vibration, and numbers have a vibration. It all has a vibration. Like, I am so sensitive or my senses are so heightened that I actually can taste numbers. Like, my 7 is salty. My 5 is like a fireball cinnamon taste to it. Like, it's the weirdest thing in the world. But yeah, my senses are like, heightened all the time.
What about number 9? Chris asked.
9 is black. 9 is a very severe number. It is. 9 is black. It's a jump off point. 9 is get ready. Stuff's changing. sorry. Stuff's changing for you when 9 shows up. But it's a heavy number. 9 is a very serious, heavy number. It is. You don't mess with 9s. They're heavy.
So when it comes to the energy, how do you manage those changes of energy? Like when it comes to all these downloads of information, like not blocking the left side, but like kind of regulating the left side and being on your center and be like, okay, I'm gonna use my right because right is always right. So I better tap to my right and make it work. And then going back to so how is that in your brain, for instance?
So that's left brain logic. You even thinking and putting it into a pattern or trying to put it into a methodology, that's the left brain. So I just let it come. I literally, every morning when I get up, I put my hands in the air and I say, Lord, use me as an instrument of your peace. Work through me. Use my hands to heal, use my mouth to uplift and leave people better than they were when they met me. Use me. I'm all yours. And then it just just comes.
We're just tools.
Yes, totally. The voice is a tool. The touch is a tool. It's what's inside. It's what we vibrate at, right? That we become a broadcast system for other people to find their light and calibrate it up. So yeah, everything is energy and the body is just a tool to get the will done.
That's amazing. Helena.
Your turn.
So my question to you is, for all those people that are maybe feeling confused right now, that are itching to find truth or maybe find some stability, it's one thing to look at someone like you with the most amazing gifts that you have and think, how could I ever get there? But one thing that I've learned from you is that we all have the gift and it's just a matter of bringing it out. And I know because you've taught me how to remote view and I never thought I could do it. And so, you
nailed the target. You did phenomenal.
Wow.
And I was so surprised because who walks around thinking that they can do that? We're just not. We don't live exactly like we're not taught to think that way. It's always left brain logic.
Yeah.
And so what would be your advice, I guess, to those listening that are hoping to find answers within themselves and how they can grow that ability within them so that they can empower themselves?
So the number one thing I would say is get out of your head. Get out of your head, get into your heart. Feel, get in touch with your feelings because feelings are the voice of the soul. And literally pay attention to who's talking to you inside of your head, because we go around all day long with a narrative, constantly chatter inside of our brain. Do we ever stop to think, who are we actually conversing with? Because we give ourselves so much credit thinking that these are private thoughts, and it's just me talking to me. No, it's not. Our spirit guides are in there. Our angels are in there. Our deceased loved ones are in there. You're in there. All of us are in there, because it's kind of like when two twins, one can be, in Canada, the other one's in China, and the one knows the other one's in trouble. What is that? It's an energy. It's a field of energy. It's a signal, right? And we are all sending and receiving signals all day long. So it's learning the language of spirit, I think, is the biggest thing. Ask and ye shall receive. Ask for your teacher and they will appear. Ask for the perfect book to be placed in your hands, and you watch what will be recommended to you for your next chapter in learning and delving in to the unknown, right? Spirit is just waiting to spring into action and show you your own magnificence. And we all have a story, we all have a tragic story. We all do. But the biggest thing is to not cling to the victimhood, to find the fastest way to heal and become the victor of our books and of our circumstances. That's a big one. And to not sit in those low vibrations of depression and anxiety, because they really clog up your spiritual tubes. It really does. And what people don't realize is that there are other dimensions around there. As much as there's angels, there's other stuff out there as well. And when we're sitting, in constant negativity and victimhood and those vibrations, there's other things out there that's going to just compile that on you. So cleaning up your personal vibration is a big one that will help you to connect even further. So things like praying, meditating, asking, that is the biggest one. And here's one I got to tell you. So in the Bible, it says, before you will have asked, I will have already answered. And for some reason, that Bible verse always stood out to me and it bugged me. It was like, what do you mean before the voice of God is before you will have asked, I will have already answered? That's supposed to be the voice of God. I get it. That voice of God is mixed in there with your intuition. It's mixed in there with that inner knowing. How many times have we, been asking a question in our mind, but the answer pops in before you even get to the question mark, right? But yet we think that's us. No, that's our guidance team guiding us, giving us the answer before we struggle and try and figure it out ourselves in our human left brain logic way, right? So they're constantly there to guide us, but we have to invoke them. We have to ask for their protection. We have to ask, for them to be a part of our daily lives. And I noticed that when I started doing that, that's when everything changed for me. Like, you guys, I haven't even been sick. I haven't even had a sniffle since 2011 when I started doing this stuff. It's crazy the way you are protected when you do this work, right? Your body just loves light. That's for sure. So the greatest advice that I can give is pray, meditate. Also, another really trippy one is, you want to hear the voice of your spirit guides? Go for a drive by yourself. Invite your guides into the car with you. Turn the radio off, turn the phone off, sit back and have a chat out loud. Start talking out loud. Go ahead and look crazy. Start talking out loud, and you watch how the conversation unfolds, because there actually is someone there answering you, talking to you, giving you this information, right? We just think it's our overactive imagination. One of the best things that I can tell for parents to do, if you've got a child who is super psychic and sensitive, start reading them books with no pictures. That was one of the greatest things that my mom did. I'd always bug her and say, why are you reading us books with no pictures in it? I want to see the pictures. Nope, you make up the pictures. Tell me what they look like. Tell me what Hansel and Gretel's house looks like. Tell me what the wolf looks like. And I would, and just that spark of imagination is what you need to remote view. Because if you can't perceive things in your mind's eye, that is the biggest block. It really is. Not being able to visualize what it is that you're tuning into. It's huge. So the more you build that bridge by opening up your imagination, opening up that conversation with your spirit guides, the more you're going to see. And my saying is, the only difference between a skeptic and a believer is the experience. Because once you've had that hair-raising experience for yourself, there's no one that can tell you it's not real, right?
Right. It's like, seeing to believe. It's like what Buddha used to say, that you have to reach nirvana in order to believe. It's not the other way around. They kind of teaches like, oh, it's okay, you don't have to see it, just believe. Like, wait, but once I've had my experience, my very unique experience to myself, I definitely believe now. So there is, there is the whole saying, seeing is believing. It kind of has a truthful ring. It's very powerful to be able to see these things for yourself, without, fear. And even if you do have fear, to do it with fear, and going to these ceremonies, going to these retreats, going to these sessions, talking to people about this, even if you're scared, it's a really, really good tool to share.
Absolutely.
Totally. And taking the leap too. I was just going to say that taking the leap actually takes a lot of courage, because oftentimes when people are stuck in their negative cycles, you're kind of like addicted to them, like they hold you hostage. And so to just make the decision to say no more, I'm going to focus on the light, and I'm going to just believe that there's something better than this. Like you said, you have to believe that something will happen. You have to have faith. And then all of a sudden things just start to happen and you're like, whoa, this is crazy.
Totally.
For me, the more light we shine, the darker places we have been before. And for our listeners and for us, I would love to ask you, with all respect, how did you overcome this depression that you had when your mother and father passed away years ago? How did you overcome these difficult times? For all the people out there that think that there's no way out, you talk about the victim side. We all thought, in a place in our lives that we have been victims, our circumstances or family matters or relationships, toxic relationships, things like that. And you are a very, very strong woman, full of light. But I know you've been in dark places too. Tell us a little bit how you overcome these difficult times in your life.
I can honestly say that suicide was on my mind every day. Every day it passed through my mind for the first 32 years of my life. Even when my parents, but even before they passed away, I never felt like I belonged here. I never understood why people could be so cruel to each other, and the bullying and just the nastiness that comes out of people, and I knew that I always wanted to be of service. And that's why I went into nursing. And then in 2009, I was diagnosed with a really rare neurological condition where all the nerves in my legs and my arms started to die. So I ended up being 210 pounds, walking with a cane. See, everybody's got a story. I may look like I got it all together now, but I'm telling you, back then I could barely stand up, let alone go to work. And so it was this stuff that was before I ever did a reading. It's amazing how the answers come when you say that sincere prayer, like, God, I need your help, right? When you come to that ultimate surrender moment. So for me, how I made the switch from nursing was this wonderful lady. There was this shop called Our Angel Center for Wellbeing that was a beautiful holistic wellness center. And I walked in just to buy a book, got talking to the owner. And I asked her, I said, how hard is it to run one of these things? I just started doing readings and, still walking with a cane. And she goes, well, ironically, I'm getting ready to sell it. And I said, I need to buy it. It was my favorite store. I need to buy it. Mm-hmm. And here's the weird thing. When something's meant for you, everything will align. I never should have been able to buy it. Like, I had been on disability for 2 years. We had 3 small kids, a mortgage, all the bills that you could ever imagine. If I even remotely didn't make this work, I was sinking not just me, but my whole family. Prayed about it. and I used it. I bought it on my credit card. That's how bad I wanted it. I bought it on my credit card. And that was the day my life completely changed, because they had healing therapies in there, something called Rife therapy, that actually gave me my life back. It's frequency therapy that, so if you think of the way doctors get rid of kidney stones, what they do is they match the vibration of the kidney stone with its own frequency. It oscillates, it blows up, and you pee it out. That's just an example of kidney stones. Well, I have one of these machines that has over 40,000 different frequencies programmed into it, and neuropathy and small fiber neuropathy and erythromelalgia was in there. So it actually treated me to the point where I got better by purchasing this place. And then I was surrounded by teachers. That's the thing. When you ask, when the student is ready, a teacher appears. And it was all the amazing practitioners that surrounded me too, that helped to heal me and helped to heal my depression, because it was crippling depression after my father died. It was brutal. He was my best friend, and his life he was killed down in the States. And so it never felt like closure. You know what I mean? Like it was very difficult. And even though I was doing readings for everybody else's family members and deceased loved ones, it took years before I could communicate with my parents, which I thought was really bizarre. But having faith is what got me out of this. No, it was more than that. It was more than just faith. So what I did was I became responsible for my thoughts. That's the number one thing, you guys. If we want to get out of listening to the shitty committee and sitting in that low vibration, we have to start taking accountability of where our thoughts are. And so when I was going through my father's death, I'd wake up and immediately have a panic attack, because you know when you kind of open your eyes and you're like, oh, I feel like crap. Why do I feel like crap? And then be like, oh God, Dad's dead and I got to deal with this, and I'm the executor and I got to deal with everything. And I literally programmed a panic attack every morning into me. So what I started doing was I started listening to Wayne Dyer. Have you guys ever heard of Wayne Dyer? Oh, he's amazing. He's an inspirational speaker. He passed away a few years ago now, but the man just made so much sense that what I would do was, as I'm doing my makeup in the morning or getting ready, or when I feel that panic coming on, I would divert and I would start listening to healing. I would start listening to how to heal instead of begging for it. I started initiating it, right? Because it's one thing to go, I'm so depressed, I'm sad, and not know how to get out of it. But it's another to take responsibility for the healing that needs to take place and start actively doing it every day. So anytime that I had free time, I started listening to inspirational podcasts and uplifting music. Even now, I don't listen to the radio, I don't watch TV, I only listen to music that uplifts my soul, calms me down, or makes me feel like this. I don't listen to any, when I was mad at my mom, it'd be Eminem cleaning out my closet, but I don't dislike my mom anymore. So it's like, no, let's heal that instead of hating on someone. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Perception, right? Perception is key.
It is. It's everything. It really, really is.
For somebody, maybe something that it's chaos or sadness, it could be a blessing for somebody else. And I always put an example of rain. Like for somebody, it could be like, oh, agriculture people, it's like, oh no, rain is awful. But then for somebody else, it's like, oh, rain, we need it in order to eat because our vegetables need the rain. So it's all about perception.
Yeah, for sure. For sure it is. And yeah, when you change it, everything changes. Everything does. So that's the biggest thing. We got to stop listening to that victim narrative that just wants to keep playing over and over and over and over. And the more you attune your psychic abilities and your senses, you can actually feel when there are outside negative forces helping that narrative to continue on, because there's that stuff too, right? And that's why it's so important to keep our energy clean and clear and to actually be consciously aware of what's going through our head. Actually pay attention to what we're telling ourselves, you know, and then we'll see why our reality is reflected the way it is. You know, because if someone's in a bad mood, we all know what a bad mood feels like, and literally feels like. If you walk by someone in a bad mood, you can feel the energy field around them, you know, and then it affects someone else. So when we clean up our energy, we naturally emit that cleaner state, and people respond to that. You know, I'd rather do some business with someone who's in a good mood than a bad mood, wouldn't you?
Of course, definitely.
So everything changes, including prosperity, when we shift out of that negative narrative.
It's all about frequency, energy, vibration. Those are the key words for the universe. So as far as any message for the people out there, for light workers, there's a lot of light workers that are just basically in the closet. Now that you mentioned Eminem, it reminds me a lot of people that are like little scared to tap into their power, because being a light worker, just like Aqua said, it's like a huge responsibility to support humanity in this process. Not only the ascension process, but the process of liberating our souls of this, you know, cycle of victimism and all that. What's the message for the light workers out there?
Find your light, hang on to it, and literally ignite it with anything and everything that brings you joy. Because right now out there, the world, it's pretty dark out there. There's a lot, and it's because people are starting to wake up and go, what's this? What's this? If you look at it, ascension is on the rise like you wouldn't believe right now. So of course, spiritual attacks are going to be on the rise. All of it's on the rise. So we need to ask for spiritual guidance, for spiritual protection, before we go into any of this stuff. Like I would never, you know, even a divination tool, I bless it before I even touch it. Like a pendulum, I bless it before I touch it. You know what I mean? So it's learning to bless your tools, to raise the vibration of everything around you, and to not feed into the fear and anxiety that's happening out there. Oh, I will tell your listeners about one of the most amazing products for any psychics that are out there that can sense psychic attacks or have to deal with that. Okay, and you wanted an invisibility shield, correct? I have one. So this thing here, Elena, you know what it is.
Oh
so
yeah, it's with you all the time.
The greatest thing ever. This is a Defender Shield blanket. It blocks out all 5G radiation, all that stuff. It also blocks out psychic attacks. I have slept like a baby since having this. Do you have one? Do you have one?
I would love one of those too. I was having nightmares the other day, and all I could do was sit up on my bed and pray. I was just like, please God, like, you know, Padre Nuestro, like 10,000 times. I don't know how to say it in English, but it's the prayer, because that's the first thing that would come to my mind. I was like, I don't know what to do. Let me just sit here. So imagine having that little blanket.
Oh yeah, you know, it shields everything.
What's the material?
So it's made, so it's made of Faraday material, which completely blocks out radiation, 5G, all of that stuff. And so I bought it because I'm super sensitive to computers. Like even if I'm on my laptop for too long, my fingers go numb, my fingertips go numb because I'm so sensitive to the EMF. So my girlfriend actually told me about it when I was complaining about my fingers and my hands going numb. And she says, oh my God, you got to check out the Defender Shield products, because they have everything from, like, even my phone case, it will not emit EMF or 5G or anything like that because it's in one of the Defender Shield cases. And so one of the most beautiful side blessings, I guess, that came of this is I sleep like a baby. No nightmares, no attacks, no nothing. And the coolest thing is, so if you even put it around you, it feels, and this is a small one. I also have the queen size and the twin size at home. My travel blanket. Well, because the minute I found out how it works, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Because when you put it around you, the coolest thing is it makes your body feel like you're not buzzing anymore. It's like everything goes quiet in your body. And I'm thinking to myself, we walk around not knowing how our natural body should feel, because we're constantly being bombarded with 5G radiation, everything. These towers are everywhere, and they're in our homes, you know, our phones, our computer, our cars, even, you know, everything that radiates an energy that is not the healing kind, this thing blocks out. It's amazing. So your cells actually feel like it feels like it's quiet. Everything just goes quiet in your body. It's just the most beautiful feeling. So the website is www.defendershield.com. And it's the Defender Shield blanket. So yeah.
That's Patricia.
Yeah.
Tell them about the Schumann resonance and how it makes us feel all wanky.
Yeah. So the Schumann resonance is Mother Nature's heartbeat. It sits at 7.83 hertz, and 7.83 hertz means 7.83 cycles per second. So that's what, as humans, we naturally peacefully resonate with. Well, when the Schumann resonance rises, and it can rise due to geomagnetic stress, lightning storms, when there's too much discharge of lightning in the air, there's those ions that it makes the air even electric, you know what I mean? Well, that raises the vibration of Mother Earth. And same thing with when she's going through like earthquakes, tsunamis, the Schumann resonance goes through the roof. So it's almost like she's birthing something or getting mad at something, and it rises. Well, over the last few years, and I monitored the Schumann resonance, not quite daily, but oftentimes daily. And it has not sat at 7.83 hertz in a while. The one day it went up to 150 hertz. And that's crazy, because if you think about it, we're sitting here at 7.83 hertz, right? 7.83 cycles per second. All of a sudden, we're doing 150 cycles per second. Wow. So we're not necessarily knowing what's making us feel like this, feeling anxious or off, you know, off kilter, and our heart beating, or, you know, we're not necessarily going to know, and we'll blame it on maybe the bad mood I'm in, or maybe it's just the day I'm having. No, maybe your body is responding to the energy of what's happening around you and underneath you, because we walk upon her skin. So of course we are an extension of Mother Earth. So of course the vibration, whatever she's feeling, it's going to be coming up through us. And so it can drive people batty on those days. When it rises. The other one too that really affects people, the reason why the new moon and the full moon affects people isn't necessarily spiritual, it's actually scientific. So the moon has a magnetic pull. And if you look at the ocean, and you lovelies are right by the ocean, so if you look at how the ocean is on a full moon, you'll see all that turbulence, right? Well, that's what's happening inside of us. We are 70%, 80% water inside of us. So if the magnetic pull from the moon can do that to the ocean, what is it doing to us? I used to work in a psych ward, or pick up shifts in a psych ward when I wasn't doing cancer care. And I tell you, the patients on a full moon, you know, you turn around and they're stabbing you in the back with a fork. So it's true. It makes your chemicals off. It actually pulls down your dopamine and your serotonin.
Is that why they say that emergency rooms are quite full?
And they are. Yeah, they are. But it's not due to, you know, necessarily spiritual stuff. And I mean, it could be. A lot of people do rituals and stuff on full moons, but there's actually a science to it as well on why we feel off on those days. And if you want to monitor the Schumann resonance, there's a great website that is disclosurenews.it. So www.disclosurenews.it. And that one even explains about the Schumann resonance and what it means. Yeah, that's good.
I totally see your medical scientific mind emerging with this whole, and that I think that's beautiful, because that's the new evolution that our brains are coming to. It's how do we materialize what we want into this dimension, but then also, never forgetting that we're spirit. So it's having to balance these things, and like you say, there's where there's light, there's darkness, and so we have to learn how to detect these entities and these things coming onto us, and these, sometimes they want to whisper in your ear and they want to tell you this is good for you, there's money involved, go for it. But then you dig a little bit deeper, and then you see the repercussions, and that's where you get to make the decision. Will I be affecting somebody by making the decision? Will I be building on karma as I proceed with this? So maybe it's a trap. Maybe it's okay, it looks all too good. Maybe you should second guess that and give it another go, because it's not leading you in the direction that you're supposed to go in. And having this discernment, having this patience with yourself. I think I, for one, kind of in that struggle with my my passion for things personally, and wanting to go all in every time. That's kind of what gets in my own way at times, is my own, how can we say, my own drive, my own passion for getting things done and completing tasks. That's sometimes, when it comes to patience, I would love some advice in regards to how can we definitely all as a collective be more patient and compassionate, not just with ourselves, but also with others.
Well, we're forgetting to enjoy the ride. Honestly, I think that we are waiting constantly to be happy. We're waiting. We think that this car is going to make us happy, or when I finally get my house or my kids, it'll make me happy. We have to embrace the happiness of now. Right? We have to learn to bring that in every moment that we can, because when we do, naturally we vibrate at a higher timeline. So naturally, that's when you're actually going to get more stuff done, because you'll have clarity of mind, because it's not paralysis by analysis. You know what I mean? You're sitting there with your wheels spinning, but going nowhere. And so I think the biggest thing is, it's like, I can't even pronounce his name. That Niche Han, anyways, he says, when you're eating an orange, eat an orange, savor it, look at it, connect with it, connect with what went into it, all the sunlight, all the rain, all of the care and nurturing from the person who grew it, taking it down to that moment and actually thinking about it. I was sitting around the table with my family the other night. We were eating. I'm a meat eater, but I tell you what we do. I have a local cattle rancher that she's a Reiki master, and so what she does is she Reikis her cows. They literally come when she whistles. They come they love her. So she Reikis them, takes care of them like her own babies, and then about a week before she takes them to slaughter, she sends me a picture of my cow so I can pray and thank it for its life. It's sustaining my family. It's giving life for my family. So I take that seriously, and I say a prayer, and I send it healing, and I send it Reiki, and I send it over that rainbow bridge with with so much love. Yes. And then it's on, and I was saying to my kids the other day, and my husband, I said, look at this food on our table and think of how much energy went into it, all the different hands that it had to go through. And for example, for the meat, Dee Dee, the lady who raised them, and then the butcher, and then the transportation, and then, and then even the fruits and vegetables that I buy from the store. Somebody grew those out of love for what they did. You know what I mean? So it's when you learn to cherish and really examine what's in front of you with the gifts of a simple meal. It can be a simple meal, but it's a gift. But I think we take it for granted because we're so go striving for the next filet mignon. You know what I mean? That we forget to take time to enjoy this moment now, this here moment. So I think that's the biggest thing. You know, I heard the best saying that kind of sums it up, and it says, depressed people live in the past, anxious people live in the future, peaceful people live in the present. So stay as present as you can. When you catch your mind going off into another, you know, dimension, bring yourself right here. I say, okay, where's my bum? Okay, I feel my bum, I feel my hands, I feel my feet on the ground, I feel my face, I'm here. I am right here with you, nowhere else. I'm not thinking of tomorrow, I'm not thinking of yesterday. I am enjoying this to the full extent.
Oh, thank you so much, Patricia. I really appreciate your time and everything that you've shared with us today. I think we're leaving this conversation with a very, very full heart and a very, very inspired soul, because the joy that you're bringing, the passion that you're bringing into this is just, wow. I'm speechless. Like I kept covering my mouth the entire interview because I cannot believe like the strength. Like I even wanted to cry at one point, but I had to resist myself. But really, I get goosebumps off of like, you know, sharing these stories with you and being able to have some insight into, you know, the powerful goddess like energy that you're transmitting right now, because it's what we like look to have, and really like supporting each other on these journeys without really any interest. Like you say, here in Tulum, unfortunately, it's become quite the hype, quite the, oh, let me see what I can attain, you know, by doing these, you know, I think you know what I'm referring to.
Yeah,
and so it's gotten out of hand. It's gotten a little bit off the radar onto the other side of the beneficial. And so slowly but surely working into this, I guess the healing arts is what I like to call it, with a clear mind, with a clear purpose, and like you say, always cleansing your energy so you can have those right intentions is key. So thank you dearly so very much for your time and these words.
And not only thank you for the time of this interview, but for thank you for taking the call to be this beautiful light for all this. You know, in this universe, in this planet, there's light and there's darkness, and everybody has both. In your case, I wanted to thank you for taking the call of being light for others, because I know you're always on the other side, and I want to take this, you know, moment to now put yourself on the other side and receive a sincere thank you for somebody that can see and perceive all the pain and all the darkness that you have been through. And now is the time for you to receive as well, because it's beautiful to give, but what about the receiving part? And I want to thank you for that, because you are an amazing light, and thank you for taking the call.
Thank you. And what a pleasure it is to meet such beautiful souls as yourselves. Thank you. And thank you, Elena, for doing this. What an amazing, beautiful connection. It's all absolutely meant to happen. Thank you for this wonderful call. And I can't wait to meet you guys in person.
I know in person.
It's awesome.
So we want to extend everybody an invitation to come to the retreat in Canada. We will be there August.
It's gonna be very powerful. Lionsgate, it's a powerful portal. So abundance, prosperity for everybody, and you know, good doors are opening for humanity. And being part of that, you know, being committed with our soul's mission and purpose to be on this planet to support humanity, it's an amazing responsibility, but it'll be an amazing ride for the years to come. So thank you very much.
What a time to be alive.
I know. Hey, and when Elena told me it was over the 8-8 portal, I was like, oh yeah, I'm in.
Oh, yeah, it's gonna be so powerful.
Really amazing one. I believe, you know, we're going to be doing the astrological reports on everybody that comes to those doors, and sitting with them, talking, engaging, reading their charts is going to be beautiful ground base to expand on that and be able to grow together during that session. Whenever they heal, we heal. So as long as you're healing, we're healing as well.
We're all mirrors. So at the end of the day, if we do good, good is going to come back. Anyway.
100%.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you again. And thank you, Elena. It's been an amazing evening.
Yeah.
And it's not a goodbye. It's just see you soon.
See you soon.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, God bless you, lovely ladies. Thank you so much.
God bless you as well,
All
Patricia.
right, you guys have an
Bless
amazing
you,
evening.
Okay, take care.